Let me tell you something important. Life is not going to wait until you feel ready. There will be mornings when you don't feel motivated. There will be days when quitting feels easier than continuing. There will be moments when no one is clapping for you, encouraging you, or even noticing your effort. And that is exactly when you must force yourself. Motivation is temporary. It is emotional, unpredictable, and unreliable. One day you wake up feeling inspired, ready to conquer everything, and the next day that feeling disappears without warning. If your progress depends on how you feel, your growth will always be inconsistent. This is why discipline matters more than motivation. Discipline is not based on emotion. It is based on decision. It is the conscious choice to act even when your mind and body resist. In an educational sense, discipline is a learned behavior. Just like reading, writing, or problem solving, discipline is developed through repetition. Every time you choose to complete a task without waiting for inspiration, you are training your brain to associate action with responsibility rather than comfort. This builds mental strength. Over time, your mind becomes conditioned to work regardless of mood, environment, or external encouragement. Students, professionals, and lifelong learners often believe they must feel ready to begin. This belief creates delay. Discipline teaches the opposite lesson. Readiness comes after action, not before it. When you force yourself to study, practice, or prepare despite resistance, clarity follows effort. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you earn through disciplined action. Discipline also teaches structure. Motivation works best when conditions are perfect, but discipline functions under any condition. When distractions are everywhere and excuses are easy to find, discipline creates boundaries. It sets routines, schedules, and priorities. These structures reduce decision fatigue, making learning and growth more sustainable. Instead of constantly deciding whether to act, discipline turns action into habit. From an educational perspective, discipline strengthens focus. Learning requires attention, repetition, and patience. Motivation may spark interest, but discipline sustains mastery. A subject becomes familiar not because it was exciting every day, but because it was consistently studied. This consistency allows information to move from short-term memory to long-term understanding. Discipline, therefore, is the foundation of true education. Discipline also builds integrity. When you do what you said you would do, even when no one is watching, you develop self-trust. This internal trust is essential for long-term success. You stop depending on external validation and start relying on your own standards. This shift is critical for independent learning and personal growth. It is important to understand that discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. Forcing yourself to continue is not cruelty. It is commitment to your future self. Every disciplined choice is an investment. It may not feel rewarding in the moment, but its value compounds over time. There will be days when learning feels boring, progress feels slow, and effort feels pointless. Discipline exists for those days. It carries you through periods when motivation disappears. It ensures continuity, and continuity is what transforms potential into achievement. Ultimately, discipline teaches responsibility. No teacher, mentor, or opportunity can replace personal accountability. When you accept that your growth is your responsibility, discipline becomes a tool rather than a burden. You stop asking how you feel and start asking what needs to be done. This mindset changes everything. It turns effort into habit, habit into excellence, and excellence into opportunity. Discipline does not promise comfort, but it guarantees progress. And in education, in growth, and in life, progress is what truly matters. Comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. Every meaningful transformation in life begins the moment you step into discomfort. Discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is evidence that something is changing. When learning feels difficult, when progress feels slow, when effort feels heavy, that is not failure. That is growth in motion. Education teaches us that the brain develops through challenge. Muscles strengthen by resisting weight. Character forms under pressure. The same principle applies to life. If you are always comfortable, you are not expanding, you are repeating. Growth demands that you do what is unfamiliar, what feels awkward, and what stretches your limits beyond what you think you can handle. Discomfort trains resilience. It teaches patience. It sharpens focus. When you push through difficulty instead of avoiding it, you gain more than skill. You gain confidence. You begin to trust yourself. You learn that you are capable of enduring more than you imagined. That belief becomes a foundation you can stand on for the rest of your life. Too often, people mistake discomfort for danger. They retreat the moment things feel hard. But difficulty is not your enemy, avoidance is. Every time you escape discomfort, you reinforce fear. Every time you face it, you weaken fear's grip. Growth happens when you choose effort over ease, discipline over distraction, and learning over instant gratification. Think about every valuable lesson you've ever learned. It likely came from a struggle, a mistake, or a moment when quitting felt tempting. Those moments educate you in ways success alone never could. Discomfort forces reflection. It demands adjustment. It refines your approach. Without it, improvement becomes impossible. Progress is not meant to be painless. If learning feels uncomfortable, it means your mind is being stretched beyond old limits. If practice feels exhausting, it means you are building endurance. If responsibility feels heavy, it means you are becoming capable of carrying more. Growth does not ask permission. It challenges you directly. Avoiding discomfort keeps you small. Facing it expands your capacity. The student who struggles but persists gains deeper understanding than the one who gives up early. The individual who embraces challenge develops discipline, adaptability, and mental toughness, skills that cannot be taught through comfort alone. Discomfort also builds humility. It reminds you that mastery takes time, repetition, and patience. It teaches you to respect the process instead of rushing the result. When you accept that growth is uncomfortable, you stop fighting the journey and start learning from it. There will be moments when discomfort feels overwhelming. That is when you slow down, not stop. That is when you breathe, refocus, and continue. Growth does not require perfection, it requires persistence. Even small steps taken under pressure move you forward. Every time you lean into discomfort, you educate yourself beyond textbooks. You learn self-control. You learn courage. You learn how to function despite fear and fatigue. Those lessons stay with you long after exams are passed and goals are achieved. Discomfort is temporary, but the strength it builds is permanent. The pain of effort fades, but the discipline remains. The struggle ends, but the wisdom stays. Growth asks something from you today so that life can give you more tomorrow. So do not run from discomfort. Walk into it with intention. Let it teach you. Let it shape you. Let it prepare you for the next level of responsibility, knowledge, and success. Because the path to becoming better has never been comfortable, and it was never meant to be. Consistency is the quiet force that shapes destiny long before success ever becomes visible. Most people believe transformation happens through big moments, sudden breakthroughs, or rare opportunities, but education, real education, teaches us something deeper. Lasting success is the result of small actions repeated with intention over time. What you do once may impress, but what you do daily defines who you become. Every day you wake up, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. When you choose to study instead of procrastinate, to practice instead of postpone, to improve instead of excuse, you are reinforcing an identity. Consistency is not about intensity, it is about reliability. It is about showing up even when your effort feels ordinary, even when no immediate reward appears. In learning, consistency is what turns information into understanding and understanding into mastery. Reading one book may inspire you, but reading regularly educates your thinking. Practicing once may feel productive, but practicing consistently builds competence. The mind, like the body, grows stronger through repetition. Each small effort compounds, stacking knowledge, skill, and confidence in ways that cannot be rushed. Many people stop because they believe their actions are too small to matter. But education teaches us the opposite. Small inputs, applied consistently, create exponential outcomes. A few minutes of focused learning every day can outweigh hours of scattered effort once in a while. What seems insignificant today may become the foundation of expertise tomorrow. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen self-belief. When you break promises, you weaken it. Over time, this internal trust determines how far you're willing to push, how seriously you take your goals, and how resilient you become under pressure. A consistent person does not rely on confidence. Confidence becomes the byproduct of their habits. There will be days when progress feels slow and unnoticeable. This is where most people quit, not because they are incapable, but because they misunderstand the process. Learning curves are uneven. Growth often happens silently before it becomes obvious. Just like academic understanding deepens after repeated exposure, life rewards persistence after patience has been tested. Consistency teaches discipline, and discipline teaches freedom. When you remove the daily decision of whether or not to act, you eliminate excuses. You stop negotiating with your comfort and start obeying your purpose. This is how average effort transforms into exceptional results, not through talent, but through commitment. Your destiny is not decided by what you do when motivation is high. It is shaped by what you do when motivation is absent. Consistency bridges the gap between who you are now and who you aim to become. It carries you forward on days when passion fades and clarity is cloudy. Education is a lifelong process, and consistency is its engine. The student who studies regularly outpaces the one who crams. The individual who improves a little each day surpasses the one who waits for perfect conditions. Over time, consistency doesn't just create results. It creates identity, resilience, and self-respect. If you want a different future, do not wait for a different feeling. Commit to a different pattern. Stay consistent when it's boring, when it's hard, when it feels unrewarded. Because destiny is not built in moments of excitement. It is built in habits that refuse to quit. Responsibility for self-development begins the moment you realize that no one is coming to save you. Education, growth, and success are not favors handed out by circumstances, teachers, parents, or society. They are personal obligations. The moment you understand this, your mindset shifts from waiting to working, from blaming to building. You stop asking what the world owes you and start asking what you owe yourself. True education does not end with a diploma. It continues every day through choices. What you read, what you practice, what you tolerate, and what you refuse to accept. When you take responsibility for your development, you understand that learning is not limited to formal instruction. Life itself becomes a classroom, and every challenge becomes a lesson. Failure teaches humility. Discipline teaches focus. Struggle teaches resilience. But only if you are willing to learn. Many people delay growth because they expect perfect conditions. They wait for confidence before acting, clarity before committing, or permission before trying. Responsibility eliminates waiting. It teaches you to move forward even when conditions are imperfect. You study even when tired. You improve even when discouraged. You push forward even when uncertain. That is how self-development works. It demands action first and understanding later. Taking responsibility also means being honest with yourself. You must recognize your weaknesses without using them as excuses. Awareness is not self-criticism, it is self-respect. When you identify gaps in knowledge or skill, you don't complain about them, you close them. You seek resources, you ask questions, you practice repeatedly. Education becomes intentional rather than accidental. Self-development requires sacrifice. Comfort must be exchanged for progress. Time spent on distractions must be redirected toward growth. Responsibility means understanding that every choice carries a cost, and choosing growth is choosing a better future over temporary pleasure. This is not punishment. It is investment. The effort you put into yourself today becomes confidence, competence, and independence tomorrow. Responsibility also builds self-trust. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, to study, to practice, to improve, you strengthen your belief in your own reliability. That belief becomes power. It removes the need for external validation because you know you are doing the work. You no longer depend on motivation or praise. You depend on commitment. Education driven by responsibility creates leaders, not followers. When you take ownership of your learning, you stop being shaped by circumstances and start shaping outcomes. You no longer fear competition because you are focused on progress. You no longer fear failure because you understand it as feedback. Growth becomes continuous, not conditional. The most important lesson responsibility teaches is this: your future is built daily, not suddenly. It is constructed through habits, discipline, and effort repeated over time. No single moment defines you. Your consistency does. When you accept responsibility for self-development, you accept the power to change your trajectory regardless of where you start. In the end, responsibility is freedom. It frees you from excuses, dependency, and limitation. It places the control back where it belongs, in your hands. And when you fully accept that your education, growth, and perseverance are your responsibility, you stop waiting for opportunity and start becoming it. Because one day, the same discipline that was hard to maintain will become the reason you stand confident, knowledgeable, and unshakable. Force yourself today, so you don't have to beg tomorrow. And whatever you do, keep going.